Hey y'all, how are you tonight? Let's do some badge work. Go to your girl handbook, page 284 and number 17. With your troop, discuss what you would say and do in the following difficult situations. A friend is in the hospital. There is a death in a friend's family. There is a serious illness in a friend's family. Someone has serious financial problems, and this is without giving them money. Think of other difficult or awkward situations you might have encountered and talk about the best way to handle them. You may role play several of these situations you discuss, remembering that it is usually easier to handle a situation when you're prepared. So there's lots of ways to handle it. And to be honest with you, our culture has a tendency to minimize these things. We don't know how to handle them, and so we wind up just kind of walking away, and people get the impression that we don't care. Sometimes that happens. But I found a devotional that talks about comforting a friend from a biblical perspective. Someday, death, divorce, termination, disaster, or disease will strike your family or a close friend. Termination meaning loss of a job. What do you do when someone close to you sustains a loss? You might send a card, call on the telephone, ignore the situation because it's painful, or stop by for a visit. Trying to ignore the issue only adds to the pain, confusion, and layers of grief. But what do you say when you call? How do you help someone else through a crisis? Start with these following guidelines. Guideline number 1, just be there. You don't have to talk. Send flowers or write messages. Sometimes the warmth of a hug or a handshake, along with your physical presence, is more of an encouragement. You don't have to solve the problem. Just be there, even if being there is sitting next to someone in silence. James Kennedy was playing tennis with a friend one day when the game was interrupted by the devastating news that the friend's infant son had died of sudden infant death syndrome. At first, Kennedy didn't know what to do. As an attorney, he earned his living by logic and persuasion, but there was nothing logical about a baby's death and nothing that could be said to comfort the parents' grief. He accompanied his friend to the hospital and sat with the family as they absorbed the tragic news. He simply was there, and looking back over his career, he describes it as the most important thing I've ever done. So quite honestly, no matter what your station in life is, just being there is enough, because you don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to fix it. Guideline number 2. Listen. You don't need to make a speech, especially when you aren't sure what to say. Just be there. Listen. When Job suffered the loss of his children, his resources, and his reputation, the friends who helped him the most were the ones who came and sat with him for 7 days and nights without saying a word. And if you've never read the book of Job, it's referring to the book of Job in the Bible. After sustaining a loss, your friend may want to talk, or she may want some space to come to grips with what has happened. Eventually, she'll want to talk about it, but let her do it on her own schedule, not yours. Some people try to put you on their schedule, giving well-meaning advice that doesn't work for everybody. So try to let that other person tell you what the schedule's going to be, if you even get to that conversation. Guideline number 3, care. The friends who helped us the most after my dad's death were the ones who showed up in jeans and work clothes and said, "What needs done?" And then didn't mind soiling their hands, getting their hands dirty, doing some pretty unglamorous tasks. Compassion in overalls, demonstrating that you care, brings comfort that counts. You may also want to read 1 Thessalonians 5. which will talk about some of these other aspects that we talked about here. So in groups or as one big group, talk about what we just discussed. Do some role playing on how you would handle these various situations, because the more you know, the better you do. Talk to you later.